All right, let's dive into Plato's Republic.
Sounds good.
We're looking at excerpts focusing on, Socrates' ideas about justice
Okay.
and the good life
Right.
and what an ideal society would actually look like.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that's been keeping people up at night for centuries.
It's pretty cool to explore this through dialogue,
Yeah.
Like Plato doesn't just give us these dry theories, right? He brings us right into the heart of these debates.
Yeah.
You feel like you're sitting there in ancient Greece with Socrates,
Yeah.
listening to him like spar with the greatest minds of his time.
Exactly. And you have to remember that this isn't just about what Socrates thought.
Right.
Plato uses him as like a mouthpiece
Yeah.
for his own like pretty radical ideas about everything.
Pretty much.
And in these excerpts, you see Socrates starting as a total skeptic,
Yes.
tearing down everyone's ideas.
Yeah.
And then bam, he flips the script and starts building his own vision.
Yeah. He does.
This is like perfect state.
Yeah, I love that shift.
Yeah.
It's like Plato saying, fine, you think you can do better, show me.
Right.
And what he comes up with is, let's just say provocative.
Yeah.
But to appreciate how wild it gets, I think we got to start with Socrates, like in his element, questioning everything and everyone.
So picture this. Socrates is in a room with these like bigwigs.
Okay.
Cephalus and Polemarchus.
Oh.
And they're all trying to like define justice.
Okay.
And they're throwing out these common sense ideas like telling the truth, paying debts,
right,
being good to your friends, harming your enemies.
The usual stuff.
The usual stuff.
Yeah, and you can almost see Socrates' eyes twinkling.
Right.
He loves taking those obvious answers, right?
Yeah.
And turning them inside out. Like, what if your friend goes off the deep end, right? Yeah. And wants his weapons back?
Yeah.
Is it still just to give them to him?
Right.
Or if harming your enemies just makes them more vengeful,
Right.
Where's the justice in that?
Right.
So he's forcing them to think harder, deeper.
He's like that friend that always asks the awkward questions at dinner parties, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Makes everyone squirm.
Yeah, yeah.
But also makes you think, never thought of it like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But then things get really interesting when Thrasymachus storms in.
Oh, yeah.
This guy's got zero patience for niceties.
Right.
And he just drops this bomb.
Okay.
Justice? It's just the interest of the stronger. Might makes right.
Oh.
Talk about challenging the status quo.
It's a brutal, cynical take.
Right.
But isn't there a sliver of truth in it? Like, at least sometimes?
Oh, yeah.
We see this play out in history, in politics.
Yeah.
The powerful, they often do get to define what's just.
That's a skeely thought.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, history is written by the victors.
Right.
Makes you wonder whose justice we're really living under.
Yeah.
But Socrates isn't buying it.
Okay.
He dissects Thrasymachus' argument piece by piece.
Right.
Exposes all the flaws, the contradictions.
Right.
It's like a verbal smackdown.
It is.
I'm here for it.
It's a masterclass in critical thinking, you know?
Right.
And this back and forth, it sets the stage for something even bigger, I think.
Okay.
It shows us that justice isn't just some, like, simple rule or definition. Yeah. It's this messy, complex thing that we have to wrestle with.
And which brings us to the part that I think has the most to say about our world today.
Okay.
Plato's blueprint for the ideal state.
Right.
He's not messing around here.
Yeah.
He's literally designing a society from scratch.
He is.
Trying to figure out what makes it truly just, down to the smallest details.
Wow.
Let me tell you, some of his ideas are downright wild.
You're not kidding. He divides his ideal state into 3 classes.
Okay.
The rulers, who are, get this, philosopher kings.
Okay, stop right there. Yeah, philosopher kings.
Seriously. That's a pretty big leap. I know, right? Was he just being idealistic? Or did he really think this was possible? It's easy to dismiss it as pie-in-the-sky thinking, right?
Yeah.
But let's give Plato the benefit of the doubt for a second.
Yeah. Okay.
What if he was onto something?
Yeah.
What if we did have leaders who weren't just driven by power or popularity, but by, like, a genuine understanding of what's truly good and just?
Right.
You know, think about it. In our world of fake news and sound bites, maybe we do need more philosophers in charge.
All right. I'll bite.
Okay.
So let's say we do want to create a nation of philosopher kings.
Okay.
How do we even start?
Well, Plato had a, let's say, creative solution for that.
Okay.
The noble lie.
Okay.
Basically, he proposed telling citizens a myth.
Okay.
That they were born with different metals in their souls, you know?
Okay.
gold for rulers, silver for warriors, and so on. It was a way to ensure everyone accepted their place in society, to maintain harmony.
Whoa, hold on. Isn't that a little manipulative?
It does. It does raise some ethical questions.
Yeah. I thought we were all about truth and reason here.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot like propaganda to me.
I mean, is it ever okay to lie to people?
Right.
Even if you think it's for a good reason.
Right.
But maybe Plato's point is that, like, sometimes a little myth-making is necessary to hold society together.
Yeah.
And look around. I mean, we see this all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
These stories we tell ourselves about history, national identity, even our personal beliefs.
Yeah.
How much of it is actually true?
Right.
And how much is just, like, a convenient fiction?
So maybe he's saying that we can't handle the whole truth.
Yeah.
Maybe we need those simplified narratives to make sense of the world, even if they're not entirely accurate.
Yeah.
But isn't that a bit dangerous?
It can be.
Who gets to decide which lies are noble and which ones aren't? It's getting deep.
And we're just scratching the surface. Remember, Plato was, like, obsessed with education.
Right.
Especially for his philosopher kings.
Yeah.
But he had some, like, seriously strong opinions about what they should and shouldn't be learning.
Oh, real?
And get this, he wanted to ban poetry.
Wait, what? He wanted to censor art.
I know, right?
That doesn't sound very enlightened to me.
Yeah.
What was his problem with poetry anyway?
Well, he thought it appealed to the wrong parts of the soul.
Okay.
You know, like those messy emotions, those irrational desires that can lead us astray.
Okay.
He was all about logic,
Yeah.
reason, the pursuit of pure truth.
Okay.
Poetry, in his view, just muddied the waters.
Now I'm really curious. How does this idea of the soul fit into all of this?
Right.
Did he just mean like our minds?
Right.
Or was he talking about something more spiritual?
Yeah.
And how does that connect to justice,
Right.
the ideal state, and everything else we've been talking about?
That's where things get really interesting. Plato had this fascinating theory of the tripartite soul, reason, spirit, and desire, all like vying for control. But I think we'll save that juicy bit for later.
All right. Sounds good. All right, we're back and ready to tackle Plato's tripartite soul.
Okay.
I'm picturing like this tiny chariot inside each of us with reason trying to hold the reins while spirit and desire are pulling in different directions.
Yeah, that's a great image.
Right.
And Plato uses this idea to explain so much about human behavior.
Right.
You know, like why we do things that we know we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Why we struggle to make good choices.
Yeah.
Why societies rise and fall.
Right.
It's all connected to this internal battle between reason, spirit, and desire.
So reason's the wise charioteer, right?
Yeah.
The part of us that thinks things through weighs the consequences. But what about spirit and desire?
Okay.
What are those guys up to?
Think of spirit as that fiery, competitive part of us.
Okay.
It's the source of courage, ambition, that drive to excel.
Right.
It can be a powerful ally to reason, helping us overcome obstacles, fight for what's right.
Right.
But it can also be reckless, impulsive, even aggressive if it's not kept in check.
Okay, and desire.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's the part that wants all the fun stuff, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Food, pleasure, comfort, all those tempting things that can lead us down the wrong path.
Exactly. Desire is the part of us that craves, seeks satisfaction, often without thinking about the long-term consequences.
Right.
Essential for survival, of course.
Right.
But it can also be incredibly destructive if it's allowed to run wild.
So how does this internal battle of the soul relate to justice?
Okay.
Is Plato saying that a just person is someone who's always ruled by reason, never giving in to their desires?
Well, he definitely believed that reason should be in charge.
Okay.
But it's not about suppressing those other parts entirely.
Right.
It's more about achieving a kind of harmony, a balance where reason guides our actions.
Okay.
Spirit provides the energy and motivation.
Right.
And desire is kept within healthy bounds.
So it's like a well-trained team.
Yeah.
Each part playing its role.
Right.
Working together for the common good.
Exactly.
But what happens when things get out of whack?
Right.
What if desire takes over?
Yeah.
Or spirit runs wild? Is that where we see injustice?
Absolutely.
Both within ourselves and in society as a whole?
And Plato uses this framework to analyze different forms of government, too.
Yeah.
He argues that each type of government reflects a different dominant principle in the soul, leading to varying degrees of justice and happiness.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure.
Like, how would this play out in a real-world society?
Okay. Let's take timocracy.
Okay.
This is a society ruled by honor and ambition, where military values are prized above all else, corresponds to a soul dominated by spirit, that fiery, competitive drive. Think of Sparta with its warrior culture and emphasis on physical prowess.
So they're all about, like, action, glory, maybe a little bit of showing off.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sounds kind of exciting, but also maybe a bit volatile.
It can be.
Like, they could be easily swayed by a charismatic leader who promises them victory and conquest.
Exactly. And that's precisely what Plato warns against. He argues that timocracy, while seemingly strong and virtuous, is ultimately unstable because it lacks the grounding of reason. It's easily corrupted by ambition and the desire for power.
Makes sense. So what about oligarchy? I'm guessing that's where money talks.
You got it. Oligarchy is all about wealth, where the rich and powerful rule. Material possessions are valued above all else. Reflects a soul dominated by desire. That insatiable craving for more, more, more.
Think of a society obsessed with status symbols, where people are constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses. Even if it means sacrificing their integrity or well-being.
It's like that saying, money can't buy happiness, but it can buy a lot of stuff that makes you forget you're unhappy.
Right, exactly.
But I bet Plato would say that that kind of happiness is pretty shallow, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't last.
Yeah, he would definitely argue that it's a false kind of happiness based on external things rather than on the true fulfillment that comes from living a virtuous life.
Right, and he saw oligarchy as inherently unstable too, right?
Yes, because it creates this huge gap between the rich and the poor, leading to resentment, conflict, and eventually revolution. Okay, that's starting to sound familiar.
Right.
So where does democracy fit into all this?
Okay, democracy, for Plato, is the rule of the many, where freedom and individual liberty are paramount. Corresponds to a soul where desires run rampant with no clear guiding principle or sense of order.
So kind of like our world today.
Sounds kind of familiar, right?
So much emphasis on individual rights and freedoms. But sometimes it feels like we've lost sight what it means to be a community. To work together for something bigger than ourselves.
That's exactly the danger Plato saw in democracy. Too much freedom without the guidance of reason and virtue leads to chaos, instability, and ultimately tyranny.
Tyranny, that's a pretty heavy word.
It is.
Is he talking about, like, dictatorship?
Yes. Tyranny, for Plato, is the worst form of government. It's the rule of a single absolute ruler, often driven by their basest passions, their unchecked desires. Reflects a soul completely enslaved to its worst impulses, where reason has been overthrown, and spirit is used to dominate and control others.
So it's like the inner tyrant takes over. And then that tyranny gets projected outward onto society as a whole.
Exactly.
Scary stuff.
Scary stuff.
So what's the antidote? How do we avoid this downward spiral from democracy to tyranny? Is there any hope for us?
Well, Plato believed that the only way to break this cycle is through education, through the cultivation of reason and virtue, both within individuals and in society as a whole.
So education's the key, but we've already talked about how Plato's got some pretty specific ideas about what kind of education we need. Remember that band poetry thing? He wasn't exactly Mr. Let students explore their feelings.
That's true. He was definitely more focused on shaping minds than on letting them run wild. But to be fair, he wasn't just trying to control people. He really believed that certain kinds of knowledge were essential for creating a just and harmonious society, and that other kinds could actually be harmful, especially to young, impressionable minds.
Okay, I get it. It's like we need to be careful what we feed our minds, just like we're careful about what we feed our bodies. But this idea that there's only one right way to think, one right path to truth, it feels a bit restrictive, doesn't it?
I hear you. It's definitely a different way of thinking about education than what we're used to today.
Right.
But remember, Plato wasn't just trying to, like, cram information into people's heads.
Okay.
He was trying to help them develop their capacity for reason.
Right.
Their ability to think critically and make wise choices.
Okay.
And for him, that meant starting with a strong foundation of knowledge about what's truly good.
Yeah.
Just and beautiful.
So how do we get to this knowledge?
Right.
Is there like a secret textbook?
Yeah.
A Philosopher King starter kit?
Right.
Sign me up.
Well, unfortunately, there's no easy shortcut.
Oh.
Plato believed that true knowledge, the kind that leads to wisdom and virtue, can't just be taught.
Okay.
It has to be discovered through a process of philosophical inquiry, through dialogue, through the relentless questioning of assumptions, and the pursuit of deeper understanding.
So it's more about the journey than the destination.
Yeah.
The process of asking questions, challenging ourselves, constantly pushing our minds to think in new ways.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, the only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing.
Right. And this brings us to one of the most mind-blowing parts of Plato's philosophy, his theory of forms.
Okay.
This is where things get really meta, so buckle up.
Okay.
Basically, Plato wasn't satisfied with the idea that reality is just what we experience with our senses.
Okay.
He believed there had to be this, like, deeper level of reality, a realm of, like, perfect, eternal, and unchanging essences that exist beyond the world of appearances.
Okay, I'm feeling a little lost here.
Okay.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah.
Like something we can relate to.
Sure. Imagine you're looking at a beautiful tree.
Okay.
You know, it's tall, strong, with vibrant green leaves.
Okay.
But it's also going to age, wither, eventually die.
Right.
That's the nature of things in the physical world, right?
Yeah.
Everything's constantly changing, decaying, imperfect. Right. But Plato believed that there's also a form of tree. Okay. This, like, ideal, perfect tree that exists in that realm of forms. Hey. It's eternal, unchanging, the ultimate source of treeness that all earthly trees try to imitate.
So it's like the blueprint.
Yes.
The perfect template that all the trees in our world are based on.
Yeah.
But can never quite live up to.
Exactly. And it's not just trees.
Okay.
Plato believed there are forms for, like, everything.
Okay.
Justice, beauty, truth, even abstract concepts like numbers.
Right.
These forms are the true objects of knowledge.
Okay.
And it's the philosopher's job to try to grasp them.
Right.
To, like, ascend from the world of appearances to this higher realm of understanding.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Right.
How do we access this world of forms? Yeah. It's not like there's a Google Maps for the intelligible realm.
But unfortunately, no. Plato believed that the key is through reason. Okay. Through philosophical inquiry.
Right.
Through the careful examination of our own thoughts and beliefs.
Okay.
He even provides this helpful analogy, the divided line, to visualize the different levels of knowledge and how we can move from the lowest to the highest.
Okay, I love a good visual. Break it down for us.
So picture a line divided into two unequal segments. One represents the visible world, the world of our senses, the world of appearances.
Got it.
The other represents the intelligible world, the world of forms, the world of true knowledge.
So we're starting in the visible world.
Yes.
Where we can see, touch, hear, taste, smell.
Yeah.
That's our everyday reality.
Exactly.
Right.
But even within the visible world, there are different levels of understanding.
Okay.
The lowest level is the world of shadows and reflections.
Right.
Like those prisoners in Plato's famous allegory of the cave.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful image.
Right.
They're literally chained in a cave.
Right.
Only able to see those flickering images on the wall.
Exactly.
They have no idea what the real world looks like.
And for Plato, most of us are living in that kind of cave.
Wow.
Trapped by our limited perceptions, our unexamined beliefs.
Okay.
Our attachment to the material world.
So how do we break free?
Right.
How do we escape the cave and see the light?
Well, the first step is to move from those shadows to actual objects, to start paying attention to the world around us, to observe, to ask questions, to try to understand how things work. Okay. That's the next level up on the divided line, the level of physical objects, the things we interact with every day.
So we're moving from shadows to substance, but we're still in the realm of the senses.
Exactly.
Right.
To do that, we need to engage our reason,
Well,
our ability to think abstractly, to see beyond the particular to the universal.
okay.
That's where the higher part of the divided line comes in.
So we're leaving the world of things behind and
Yes.
entering the world of ideas.
Precisely. The lower part of the intelligible world is the realm of mathematics and logic,
Okay.
where we use reason to understand concepts like numbers,
Right.
shapes, and relationships.
Okay.
This is where we start to grasp those universal truths that govern the physical world.
So it's like we're learning the language of the universe.
Yeah.
The underlying principles that make everything tick.
Exactly. But the highest level, the pinnacle of the intelligible world,
Okay.
is the realm of the forms,
Okay.
culminating in the form of the good.
Right.
This is the ultimate source of truth,
Right.
beauty and justice, the light that illuminates all other knowledge.
Wow, that sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
The form of the good, it's like the ultimate truth.
Right.
The big T.
Yeah.
The answer to all the big questions.
You could say that. It's the source of all value.
Right.
The foundation of all morality.
Right.
The guiding principle for a just and fulfilling life.
And according to Plato, it's only by understanding this form of the good,
Yes.
by aligning ourselves with it,
Yeah.
that we can truly be happy
Right.
and live in harmony with ourselves and the world around us.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It's a challenging path,
Yeah.
a lifelong pursuit.
Right.
But for Plato, it's the only path that ultimately leads to wisdom, virtue, and true fulfillment.
Wow. It's a lot to take in. Plato's Republic is definitely
It is.
mind-stretching, thought-provoking work.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing to see how these ancient ideas still resonate with us today.
Yeah.
From the nature of justice and the role of education
Right.
to the importance of critical thinking and the search for truth.
Right.
Plato challenges us
It
to
does.
examine our own beliefs, our values, and our understanding of the world.
Absolutely. And whether we agree with all of his conclusions or not,
Right.
I think we can all appreciate his passion,
Yeah.
his brilliance, and his unwavering commitment to the pursuit of wisdom and the good life.
Right.
He reminds us that the unexamined life is not worth living,
Right.
and that the journey toward truth, though challenging, is ultimately the most rewarding journey we can take.
Well said. And on that note, we're going to wrap up our deep dive into Plato's Republic.
Okay.
We hope you enjoyed this exploration of these timeless ideas.
Yeah.
And we encourage you to keep questioning, keep seeking, keep diving deep.